Welcome to the first episode of We Chat Divorce. I'm Karen Shalou, and this is my business partner, Catherine Shanahan. We're co-founders of a divorce solutions company that's committed to changing the way people get divorced. We're both divorced, and with 50% of marriages ending in divorce, we want to make sure our experiences ease the pressure of divorce on any family. The show We Chat Divorce is only one of the ways we respond to the high challenges that divorce brings to any one individual or family. Our company, Divorce Youth Solutions, was started in Pennsylvania. We had our first office there, opened in early 2016. Throughout the next 2 years, we've assisted over 150 couples navigate the divorce process. And sometimes the divorce process doesn't always end up in divorce. Sometimes they need to think about it, sometimes they need counseling, and sometimes it was never divorce. That was the original intent. So we're very excited about this. We just opened our second office here in Hilton Head, November of 2017. January of 2018.
We started the process in November of 2017.
So we're very excited. So thank you for joining us today.
And so really we want you to know that divorce does not define us. It's a part of our story, it may be a part of your story, but it is not our whole story, nor will it be yours. So through our episodes, we will show you ways to help you move forward in a positive direction. In a nutshell, we will be talking about real people, real situations, and real divorce. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to tell you a little bit about our real personal story.
Welcome back to We Chat Divorce. We're going to share a little bit about our personal stories and how the company started, so that you can get a good feel for how we plan to change the way people get divorced.
So if you're sitting there feeling like you might be where we were, we get it, and we were there. I was 44. I'm a mom of 5, 3 children who are my stepchildren, and 2 are biological. I was married for 20 years, and I was at home just feeling so lonely. And my thought was that I'd rather be single and lonely than be married and lonely. My youngest child was getting ready to go into 9th grade. My daughter had moved here to Hilton Head to go to a golf academy, and I was feeling like I need to move on. So I ended up moving here half the time. I traveled back and forth, as you know, for every 9 days because I had to go home to be with my son and then come back to be with my daughter. And it was really very scary. I just remember going to the beach when I was here, and people in Pennsylvania thought, oh, she's having fun at the beach, where I was crying literally every day, and then going home and crying there. And so at that moment, it's so hard. It's really hard. So at that moment, I just thought, I need to help people, because there's probably so many, at that time I was just thinking women, sitting home so upset, not knowing what to do. I had been a financial advisor. So I went and I got advice from an attorney who said, have you ever heard of a certified divorce financial analyst? And I said no. So I went home, I looked it up, and I thought, this is what I need to do. I need to help people look at their finances and pick the right solutions or have clarity when they move on.
Because divorce comes down to finances and kids.
Yeah, it does, right?
It does, absolutely.
So I did that. I made the transition to become an entrepreneur and have my own business to help women through the process. And in that year or 2, I just thought, oh my gosh, we need more. We need to help navigate the divorce process with a legal liaison. And that wasn't my area of expertise. And so I knew Karen through another friend, and I knew that she also helped women through the process and through life. She has a non-for-profit organization called Sisters U. So we met, and I told her my idea to expand, and she said, oh my gosh, I'll help you. Whatever you want to do, I think this is a great idea. And I said, no, I want you with me. I need you as a partner, and that's what we did. But her story is a little different than mine, a little different start.
Yeah, I had been married 10 years. My children were 7 and 5, and I was physically challenge. I mean, I was very ill just from trying to manage the stress. And it wasn't just my relationship and my marriage, it was my entire life. But I had to make some really tough decisions and leave a marriage, which created friction with my family, my extended family, my children, but I had to do what I had to do to save myself. So at the age of 29, being married 10 years, 2 little children, I left my marriage. I worked for a law firm at the time. I had access to the best attorneys in the area, but I was still overwhelmed, challenged, and had really no idea how everything would work for me. I knew how the process worked, but I didn't know how it was going to work for me. So moving ahead 30 years, I stayed in the same law firm for 30 years. So when Catherine approached me about working with her and my passion to empower people to be their best selves and do the best for themselves, I was just so excited about it. So
here we are.
Here we are. Yeah, so Divorce Youth Solutions, our company, really helps people kind of get it all together and help them know what divorce means to them. It typically starts with a consult for an hour, and we say when you come in for a consult, we're going to cover 3 things. We're going to cover where you are emotionally, financially, and physically in the divorce process. We'll cover, go back to that, because some people where they think they are in the divorce process isn't where they are in the divorce process. They think they want a divorce, but when they come and talk through it with us, sometimes they need to get their affairs in order.
Well, let's be clear.
Yeah.
We don't really hold a white flag,
Right.
and say, let's go get divorced, everyone, and we're coming out and looking for people and hoping that they get divorced. Although I can spot some couples that probably need some help, I don't go up to them and say, here's my business card. You know? So when somebody comes in for a consult, we listen. We assess where they currently are. And it's not uncommon that we will turn and say, hey, are you still in love with your spouse? And if they say yes, then the next best step for them is not going to an attorney, is not filing for divorce. It is, did you go to a marriage counselor? Have you tried therapy?
Absolutely.
Because we really just want to navigate them and advocate for them to be happy. So if that's the path, we'll set that path up with them.
Right.
If they're not ready and they're just coming for information, we don't call them and say, come back. Come back when you need some more information or you need some other resources.
Mm-hmm. In their way, in their time. And even though sometimes people feel emotionally like they're ready for divorce, if they don't have a good handle on their finances, they're usually not ready to take that next step. Mm-hmm. So we go over that with them. It's a little assessment. We go over the 4 ways to get divorced. And then we tell them, you will leave the consult knowing the next steps to take. And without fail, anyone who comes in leaves with relief. No matter what their next step is, and everyone's is different, they leave feeling relief because they know where they're headed and what they're going to be doing. We've also created an online course that we're very excited about. It's
2.5 hours.
2.5 hours, 15 guides and worksheets, and they're all in 10 to 12 minute segments. You can do it in the privacy of your own home. We call it a boot camp or prep course for divorce, and it's very helpful to prepare anyone going through the process what they're going to be faced with.
Yes, so it's not a negative word. Our goal is to help you move forward in a positive direction. Our hope is through these shows, we will show you ways that you can move yourself forward, communicate better with your children, and hopefully move along amicably so that you can co-parent if you have children. And more importantly, we are disrupting this business. We are changing the way the course of divorce goes. But we want you to know that you're not alone. And although life may be seeming very difficult and scary right now, you're not alone. We're here for you. There's a lot of people there for you. We are going not only locally, but nationally to create a community of people who feel comfortable sharing their thoughts and ideas and sometimes their obstacles. And we'll find a way to help you through that.
And for our first episode, we thought it would be so relevant as our first guest to introduce a family therapist. I think she calls herself a relationship expert. So I'm very excited because what better way to start talking about divorce than to start talking about relationships, because that's what it's all about, right? So Colleen Kowal, she's the owner of Hilton Head Counseling Center. She's a licensed counselor. She's an Imago relationship therapist. I'm excited to hear her expand on that a little bit. She's a play therapist and a trauma-focused cognitive behavioral therapist.
That is a mouthful.
Oh my gosh. So we're very excited about that. So when we come back after this break, you'll get to meet Colleen. Welcome back to We Chat Divorce. Hi, Colleen. Thank you for joining us today.
Well, thank you for inviting me.
We're very excited.
Yeah, thanks. We were just talking in our last segment about that going through the divorce process is sometimes people need to think about, well, am I emotionally ready? They think they're ready, but they may not be. And we were saying we need to refer them to relationship experts sometime. And your approach we find very intriguing. So hopefully you can talk to us a little bit about that.
Mm-hmm. I'd love to tell you about it. I'd love to talk about Imago. Imago is about 30 years old, and it was developed by Dr. Harville Hendricks and Helen LaKelly Hunt. And they wrote the book, Getting the Love You Want. And it was a big, like Oprah, big seller, and I was young and married and not doing very well and in graduate school and fell in love with the work. And really decided then that it was the first thing I had ever read that made a whole lot of sense about not just marriage, but relationship in general, and how to help manage conflict and where the conflict comes from. So I really committed way back then to eventually study this work, and I'm really excited now to be able to do this on the island. I think I'm the only person in our area that provides Imago counseling. And
okay. Is it actually a certain amount of sessions, or is it an ongoing process?
Well, that's it. That's a good question, because I think that the answer is it depends on the couple. I do a workshop 4 times a year where couples sometimes come and they do the workshop and they really never come to therapy. They actually learn a lot, and the purpose of my work is to help couples come in and be able to learn how to communicate. I see myself very much as a relationship coach, and if they can learn how to communicate safely and effectively, they can really develop a deeper connection. And once they know how to do it, they really don't need me anymore.
Wow.
That's interesting. You should probably take that before you get married.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you're married, some people say, why would I do the workshop? My marriage is pretty good. What I say is, would you like to deepen your relationship? And it's marriage insurance, because
Well, you know, a lot of
keeps it
times
safe.
people will ask me, you know, what would you change about the divorce process? Because Karen and I are helping people get through this process. And my response is, I really wouldn't change anything about my divorce process because we negotiated ourselves, my ex and I. But I would change things about my marriage because we should have been in counseling the day we got engaged, honestly. Being a blended family is not an easy thing to do, and being 23 and becoming a stepmother quickly, really, I look at it now like, what? Like, I look like a kid.
Yeah.
But our relationship went like this, and it worked, but the communication really wasn't there. So it really would have been nice to have that.
Yeah, well, so the Imago work is based on a dialogical process that creates the safety of the conversation so that it doesn't go all over the place. You know, so you start talking about, you know, why don't you want my mother to come for Thanksgiving? And before we know it, you know, we're talking about the last time that, you know, you didn't help clean the garage. And I mean, and then the people, like at the very end, we don't even know what we were fighting about.
Right.
And so this process really helps keep it really safe, really tight, and it's actually a lot of fun.
I love that.
That's great.
Yeah.
Colleen, I noticed on your website that you have an entire page on your philosophy. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Well, I mean, I was an educator for years, and so I taught 1st through 7th grade, and then I was a school counselor, and then I've been in private practice. And for me, and lots of friends in my own life, for me, at the heart of every problem is a broken relationship. Whether it's a mother that's passed, something from childhood, a problem with your spouse, your brother, but at the heart is really relationships. We're born into relationships and we're connected through our relationships, and I really know that we can be healed through the relationship. And so that's the frame of the work that I use. And
wow, that's awesome. I loved seeing that one page dedicated to philosophy, because I don't see that on a lot of websites, but I really appreciated that about yours. I know that one thing Catherine and I see a lot is someone coming in thinking they're ready for divorce because of infidelity. But when we ask them the question, do you still love your spouse, it becomes a little shaky. So how do you address that? Because some people want to work through it, some people that's the line that someone crossed. How do you respond to that? And can couples heal from that?
They really can heal from infidelity. There's a lot of research about affairs really being the symptom of the problem and not the problem itself. And so when we can help couples really identify really what went wrong and what did you really need and what did you not get from the relationship that you were crying out for, but maybe you didn't know how to ask for it. And then for the other partner to not, it's really helpful to the other partner who's been betrayed to realize that it really doesn't mean that they've done anything wrong or they were not enough.
Which really frustrates me when I have someone in there that's heartbroken and blindsided, and they're told that if they would have only been better, I wouldn't have cheated, or if only you would have done this for me, I wouldn't have done that. So not only are they beaten down, but now they're taking all the blame for something that it really wasn't their fault.
Absolutely.
There is no fault, I guess, right?
Well, no. I mean, I think that people have to take personal responsibility for leaving the marriage to think they're getting what they need. But what we know statistically is that second marriages fail at a 60% divorce rate. So if people think that when they get in trouble in their marriage and they fall out of love, that it's over. And so then they start to seek that same feeling with someone else. Because when we fall in love, we're actually in love with is ourselves. We love the feeling that we have about ourselves, like we're vulnerable, we're wide open, I want to be with you all the time. There's so much freedom in falling in love. And that period lasts between 2 and 18 months. And all these great chemicals are released in our brain, which is the same chemicals that actually create the effects of ecstasy, the drug.
Wow.
So we wonder why we're so in love with love. Well, it's powerful. And then once those chemicals go away and we start maybe seeing all of the things that used to be cute and finding them annoying, we start to feel like, oh, maybe I really made a mistake. And that's when I think people start to have affairs or find other ways to exit their relationship.
Wow. And we see financial infidelity a lot as well. Actually, you talk about that.
That's a whole nother infidelity, financially. And that is just spending, spending and hiding money from your spouse.
Yes.
And buying things and hiding things, and that creates another level of tension.
Yes.
Yeah. So
you brought up something really interesting, though, that I do see a lot, that somebody will come in and say they definitely want a divorce. And as we explore it, sometimes they do make that decision. But I love to help them get really clear about it because it affects lots of people, their children. Divorce has this huge ripple effect. And when you're that emotional and you've been hurt or betrayed, we really are in a reptilian part of our brain and do not make great decisions. And so it's really important for people to find a way to work through all that. And I know you both help so much with that too, so that they can really make logical choices that are going to have better outcomes long term for the bigger picture.
right.
It brings me to, I want to share a story about somebody. We do a lot of divorce management planning, and that is mostly women are not ready, but they've been thinking of it. We have the great divorce, which is very big now. There is no reason for the divorce other than your kids are grown and you want to be on your own. You're not. You feel like you fell out of love, or you found somebody else that you think you're in love with because you're going through the phase that you call it. And we have sometimes met some people who do this for months, and then when it comes to the serious conversation with their spouse that you know, I don't really love you and it's time for me to move on. Our kids are grown, and the guilt sets in. They, you know, the trigger with the children, and then they decide to stay. And for us, it's fine. So we
Right.
give them counselors' names. We offer counselors for their children, for their spouses, whoever you need. Go seek that help. But I hear often that it's just easier. I'm going to stay. I'll just grin and bear it. I have the big house. I have this. I have that. Or I have, you know, everything taken care of. How long, if they don't get help, will that last?
It can last a lifetime. I mean, I think what we're experiencing now in our culture is that we've left the marriage of need and moved to the marriage of want, because women can take care of themselves.
Right.
And so now we have a more lateral partnership, and we don't know how to do it. So that's one of the things I do, is I teach people how.
Okay. And do you also coach divorcing couples through their divorce?
Absolutely. We do co-parenting sessions where they can create a vision for what co-parenting looks like. And so when they have that vision, they can really kind of say, we created this together, and this was our goal, and this is our long-term plan for our children. How can we support that goal? And that's
Great.
how the couples counseling works in that sense, as far as parent support.
Good.
And I love that. I really want to mention your workshop, because I do think that you should maybe take the workshop even before you think of getting a divorce. I'm always about
Sounds
giving it your
great.
last hope, or
Yeah.
even before you get married.
Yeah.
That's great. So your workshop is?
It's March 23rd, 24th, 25th. It's right here on the island, so you don't have to travel. They have them all over the world, so you can go to a more exotic place if you want to get away from home. But we are having one right here at the Hampton Inn, and they can find out more about that on my website, which is HiltonHeadIslandCounseling.com.
Great.
Thank you, Colleen, for being here with us today.
Thanks.
You're a
Always
wealth of
enjoy seeing
information.
you.
Yeah,
Thank
you're
you.
great.
Love seeing
You're
you.
great. Yes.
And thank you for being here with us today. If you have any questions or if you have topics that you would like us to cover, please email us at info@divorce-solutions.com. We look forward to seeing you next time.
You're not alone. You will be okay. And we chat because you matter.